Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the best, most interesting, useful, cutting edge, most effective brain body tools so you could take better control of your brain. You could make better decisions, take better actions, and shape your life exactly how you see it in your head, in your dreams, in your vision. So that's what we are all about here. Today, I want to continue our conversation about entrepreneurial founder motivation. Last podcast we did on Monday, we talked about how important dopamine optimization is for that ongoing motivation and what lifestyle choices and actions you need to take daily in order to keep your dopamine happy, keep your dopamine high, so you could go every day, so you feel every day like going out there and pursuing hard but yet inspiring goals and building visions that make our world better. So please tune into that episode we did on Monday. Today, folks, I want to start with the phrase: motivation gets you started, focus keeps you going. So today we're going to talk about this combo, and more so about focus, but not focus in a sense that, you sit down and you need to work and that kind of focus. No, not focus for work, not working on distractions when you're trying to write or you're trying to code or you're trying to work out this presentation or vision or framework. Not that day-to-day, minute-to-minute focus. Today, we're going to talk more about long-term focus and how to eliminate distracting behaviors and actions and things in your life. So you almost put, for quite some period of your day, blinders on yourself, like on a horse, so you don't see the rest of the world and you focus on what you need to achieve and don't waste your energy and attention everywhere else. And folks, there are so many things in our world that we can do, could do, sometimes wish we do, that gonna take our attention, and with that our energy from our vision and all of the big, audacious, great things that they require a lot of focus, a lot of energy, a lot of that ongoing, not just one day, couple of days, but very often week after week, months after months, year after year. There is this phrase: overnight success takes 10 years. And that's exactly what it is. If you want to build something great from ground zero, from scratch, no matter how much AI you have, no matter how much help you have, yes, the journey might be faster here and there, but still world-changing things, they take a lot of time, a lot of effort. And you cannot afford to waste that or a lot of it every single day, every single week, and just jump from one thing to another. You know what I see in the entrepreneurial world more often than not is that it's not about the ideas, the quality of the ideas entrepreneurs have that make them succeed or fail. It's just a lot of entrepreneurs don't develop this long-term tenacity, focus, willpower. And did you just jump from one thing to another? Well, guess what? When you jump from one thing to another, it's kind of like jumping from one diet to another, trying to lose weight. Just stick with one thing, and I promise you, you'll see results. So the same true from all my experience, from all the biographies I read, from all the podcasts I listened about great entrepreneurs who built great things and keep building. They all have this quality. They're able to focus long term and eliminate all the shiny objects, ideas, and things they gotta do from their life as much as possible. And then they're able to really dive deep into their idea and build something amazing, awesome that inspires the whole world. So that kind of focus we're going to talk about. And again, it's going to be an interplay also with the motivation, because focus and motivation. Again, folks, I want to read to you this phrase. Motivation gets you started. Focus keeps you going. The surprising fact that very few people think about, it's more on the geeky side. The same molecule is needed to make both happen. The same molecule of dopamine. Again, on Monday, we talked about all the lifestyle choices that you absolutely have to do if you want to maintain high level of dopamine every single day, or at least if not every single day, then continuously and have higher than average level. You want to do those things because dopamine, it seems very sensitive for whichever reason, Mother Nature designed us this way. It's very sensitive to all these lifestyle choices, like the amount of sleep or the amount of movement and exercise or certain nutrients, vitamins and minerals and the amount of specific proteins you eat. So all of that we talked about on Monday. Today, just realize that the same molecule is responsible for focus. When you are higher on dopamine and you are able to define the direction of where you want your energy and focus go, you can focus for hours and the rest of the world literally disappears. Now, there are other molecules and neurotransmitters, what they call them in neuroscience, those messenger molecules that allow our neurons to communicate and create different states of mind. There are other supporting molecules needed to create a perfect state of, flow and deep focus. But dopamine, if it's not there, that is not happening. So motivation, your focus, all of that is about keeping your dopamine happy and also learning specific frameworks, how you shift your mindset or your attention in order to maintain that long-term focus. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. How to use different mindset tools that has been shown to be effective from neuroscience research, from top elite performers like Navy SEALs, so they could accomplish any mission, however long, however hard. The same tools are used by Olympic athletes to, can you imagine being an Olympic athlete, and the result that you'll ever gonna get a medal is so not guaranteed. You're gonna be competing with the best of the best, and you have to dedicate, with that in mind, years and years of training to have just a number, that the number of times one is able to participate in the Olympic Games probably are on one hand, right? So you train your whole life or a lot of years, a decade, a couple of decades for those Olympics, for those 1, 2, maybe 3, if you are really amazing, times that you participate in the Olympics, again, without no guarantee, without no feedback from the rest of the world, nobody gonna give you a medal anywhere in between. You just have to focus and have to figure out how to maintain that focus for years. Can you imagine that? Or in the case of Navy SEALs, when they go on into mission, nothing is guaranteed as well. Very often, I interviewed one great Navy SEAL commander for my podcast, and then I listened to a lot of material with him and read his blog, etc. And he talks a lot about his missions and how they went. And he often talks about this situation where you go into mission and you don't know how long it's going to last, or where exactly it's going to be, where you're going to sleep, what you're going to have for food, how this situation unfolds. You get on the ground and you might even lose the communication with the rest of your team or the rest of the world. So many things are so freaking unknown, and very often you have to be very specific about your focus if you want to keep your motivation going, if you want to keep your problem solving muscle going. By the way, creativity also depends on dopamine. If you want to have this optimal brain cocktail to perform your best in a highly uncertain situation. Also, without anxiety, you have to be a master of your focus. And I'm going to give you a few tools today that, again, proven to be the most effective, used by top performers in different areas. And also the same tools seem to be very important for entrepreneurs. When I do research about the greatest entrepreneurs of our times, from Jeff Bezos to Elon Musk to Sarah Blakely to Warren Buffett to Alex Hormozi to Russell Brunson, they all have this ability to use their focus and to keep their focus on the right things. And so today I'm going to share with you the tools. I'm also using them in my work, sometimes better, sometimes worse, but the better I am with my focus, the more effective I become. So without further ado, let's jump into practice. First, let's repeat. Motivation gets you started. Focus keeps you going. So remember that focus is very necessary to make anything great long-term happen. You cannot be jumping again from one diet to another, expecting the result to be great. You need to kind of stick with something to allow it develop and allow it to give you the results. First and foremost, focus. It requires you understanding your priorities and what you actually want, what you want to focus on and why that is important. Focus, just like motivation, depends on this molecule of dopamine, and dopamine is very sensitive to rewards. And when you state a deeper meaning of any pursuit, what it means for the meaning of your life, for your success in life, so to speak. What makes our life meaningful is feeling like we're fulfilled. We're achieving what we set out to achieve. We do the important things in life. And if you want your focus to be strong, you gotta connect every single long-term project to that bigger picture of your life, to the reason why. Why is that important? Why does it matter? And that will boost your dopamine, and whatever you're able to connect to your deeper reason why it's important in my life, you're going to get more dopamine and you're going to get more focus. So first and foremost, folks, understand, don't just pursue an idea or goal because it's fun. Well, sometimes you might, but if it's going to take more work, it's going to be challenging, and it's going to take you on this journey of ups and downs, you absolutely have to connect it to the bigger reason why, and you have to learn how to optimize your dopamine even when you fail to the rest of the outside world. You absolutely have to have deeper reason for why you pursue a goal. Fun things you can do from time to time, but again, if that's something big and challenging, if you only stay there for the fun part, not going to work long term. And maybe that's why a lot of people try entrepreneurship. They're like, oh, it must be fun. And then after a couple of months, you suddenly realize, oh, that is not that fun. There are actually tough and challenging moments. Do you really want this goal? And soon many of them realize it doesn't really matter in my life, or it's not meaningful in my life, or I just don't want it bad enough to put in all that hard work. So to keep your focus strong, to keep your motivation strong again, and we'll learn that the same molecule, dopamine, is crucial for both of those, motivation and focus. You want to connect whatever it is you do, the project, the idea, this business, you gotta connect it to the meaning of your life, to why it's so crucial and important in your life. The second very important technique that I believe I learned it while listening to the Hidden Brain podcast. It's a award-winning podcast done by a journalist, and he often talks to a lot of different scientists from psychology and neuroscience and all kinds of brain-related research. So on this podcast, they had a guest and they talked about different cognitive biases and how we often focus on the wrong thing, so to speak, and that makes us make mistakes or make worse long-term decisions. And so how they also on this podcast talked about how learning to ask yourself different questions is how you can avoid a lot of those biases. And one of those questions will help you to eliminate distractions, or at least get rid of a lot of them and get back to focus on the things that are more important, things that you want to build, things that require more long-term focus and pursuit and energy and attention. So the question goes like this, and it's not the exact quote, but it's along the lines. I just find that this form is most useful for me. When I choose to do X, and X can be going for vacation, or even sometimes going for additional workout, or sometimes meeting with that person. So when I choose to do X, what future am I canceling? Again, I want to repeat it. When I choose to do X, what future am I canceling? So on the podcast, they talked about how when we choose to do something like go away on a long vacation with friends, and there is nothing bad about it at all, but you got to realize that now, okay, you chose to go on this mini vacation with your friends. And those hours, tens of hours, you don't spend working on your thing. And if you do that consistently, you miss out on an opportunity to develop your vision faster. You might even miss out on a lot of insights. And then also, if you look at your day and you try to maximize leisure and going out times, and without realizing that, you make sort of excuses like, oh, I need to recover, or I need to take care of myself, or I need to be more balanced because that's what everybody else says around me. Without it knowing that, you are canceling or pushing away that idea, that future, that great entrepreneurship vision further and further and further away. Every time you choose something, you choose to not do something else. And you could ask yourself questions. Am I choosing what leads to the future I desire? Or am I choosing the easy thing now? You gotta learn how to ask yourself questions in the right moment. When, again, there is something happening, or there is this event, or an adventure, or this or that. Again, there are so many distractions. Or like, oh, I need to buy this thing, or I need to watch this movie, or I need to go, I don't know, see that person, or see that exhibition, whatever that might be. Or I need to go to this event because everybody else is going. You gotta ask yourself, is this the kind of choice that's going to lead me towards the most important things in my life, or it's just the easy distraction? And that's the question that will help you to avoid a lot of distractions. And most of entrepreneurs who are really dedicated to their vision, they have this feeling inside when they choose the distractions that, that's like discomfort. There is this another important project, but I'm choosing to do that. And you feel that discomfort, but, because it's fun, or because might be social pressure, all of your friends are going, you feel like you need to also do that, even though inside you feel like that is not aligned with your priorities. You're going to feel that discomfort. And if you meditate, you're going to feel it even better, because meditation allows you to be more tuned in your intuition and what's happening, your priorities, how things are aligned with your priorities. But the most important tool and takeaway, folks, if you're struggling with just a lot of things always taking your attention from your pursuit of this, company idea, you gotta learn how to ask yourself this question, especially at the beginning, often and a lot. Is the thing that I'm about to do aligned with my true priorities? And also, it's really great when you have your priorities and goals for the next quarter, for the next year, for the next 5 and 10 years. If you have them written down, then your brain has a very clear proof of what's actually important to you. Get back to your priorities, rewrite them as needed. But then every time you have doubts about any choice, just look back at your priorities and think, is this leading me towards that? Or is it just an easy choice led by distractions? And folks, guys, I hope you don't have this illusion anymore that our world will give you time to do everything. Our world is getting more and more filled with distractions. And unless you choose your priorities, you're gonna surf through life doing a bunch of small things that are fun at the moment, but at the end of your life, you're gonna end up feeling like you didn't actually spend the time on the most meaningful things. So ask yourself this question more often. When I choose to do X, what future am I canceling? When I choose to do X, what future am I canceling? So this is tool number one, besides having your goals and priorities, that you want to use to avoid distractions and doing a bunch of other things that are not related to your main priorities. Feeling at the end of the day, at the end of the year, soon it's going to be the end of the year, like you just wasted your year and you don't even know how. So the next step, this is, I heard again and again from Navy SEALs, from Rich Davini. Check out his book, The Attributes, 25 Hidden Drivers of Optimal Performance. So this one is about learning how to narrow your focus, your mental focus, so you can take the next step in front of you powerfully instead of being overwhelmed by all the things that you gotta do. Or if your vision is big and it's long term, maybe a couple of decades in the future, please do realize that, number one, it's going to be unclear. A lot of things are going to be uncertain, from how it's going to unfold, what you're going to do, what resources you'll need, and what all the plans, for each year. A lot of things are going to be uncertain. And it's going to be hard for you to focus on any specific thing if you just always allow the big picture to come into your vision. What instead, top elite performers like, again, Navy SEALs or Olympic athletes who have big, long-term, many years ahead goals, or if the goal is unclear or the process is unclear, like for Navy SEALs, you get into the mission and you don't know how you're going to get to the end, and actually you don't even know what that end going to look like. So what do? You focus only on the next most clear step, the one that you are sure how to do, and you can dedicate all of your energy, your optimism, your dopamine to it. Focus only on the next step. That's when you really imagine that horse with blinders. You don't see nothing else but that very short period of time. And Rich, while talking with some other podcast host, he said that sometimes you would have to focus only on the next couple of minutes, like literally how I have only 2 minutes and I'm going to do this thing, or I have only next mile to swim through, or I have only 2 minutes to wait for, this situation unfold, or this guy to pass, whatever, I'm not a Navy SEAL. I don't know how exactly their missions go, but that's what Rich Davini shared. And that's also what has been shared by Emily Balcetis that I interviewed also for Your Brain's Coach podcast. And Emily studies focus and motivation, and she's a neuroscientist in New York. And she interviewed Olympic athletes, like literally, she interviewed Olympic athletes and asked, for example, runners, when you do the running, what do you focus on? And they said, well, specifically long-term or long-distance running, like marathons. And the runners said, all of them, without exception, said, I focus only on the next milestone, or the next person to overrun, or the next, mile, the next minute, the next 10 minutes. So they focus on the next milestones. That, by the way, folks, shorter milestones increase the amount of dopamine in your brain. It actually also raises your blood pressure, I believe. Basically, the closer the next finish, even though you artificially created with your focus, the more dopamine is released and the more ready you are and primed for taking action, and the most energy you have, and the more chances to succeed you also have. And the same with this, 4-year preparation. Where do you focus on when you have this long-term goal, very often overwhelming and unclear, and you just, sometimes it feels too hard to even imagine doing all of that work that required for that long-term project. So where do you put your focus? When you feel that pressure, that heaviness of this goal, you put it only on the next step. And that's what elite Olympic runners do, and that's what Navy SEALs do. And also Emily interviewed some artists and people who worked on a long-term project and succeeded. And it's also where they focus their attention, only on the next step in front of them and doing the best job they possibly can with that next step. So that's the second tool in your focus toolkit, your long-term focus toolkit. As an entrepreneur, most of your goals, big goals, are going to be quite long-term, and you won't even know when they're going to finish. So what do? You focus only on the next step. Plus, you're going to start feeling more energized and optimistic and driven when you focus most of your time on the things you can actually see, control, and work on. The second type of focus tool or mindset switch for focus that you can use, now we talked about narrow focus when big picture is too heavy and overwhelming. But sometimes when you just go through the motions, so you may be like myself, I do lead generation, and it's a lot of repetitive work, and I can't really outsource this at this moment. And there are a lot of things like that in the entrepreneurial life, especially at the beginning when you don't have the team or an opportunity to outsource everything. There are a lot of mundane things that you would have to do that might seem like just going through the motions and not connected to anything big or grand. You just do the things, and they feel meaningless and again mundane and boring. Like, how do you maintain focus on them then? Because by themselves, they're not that exciting. They do not lead to any sorts of milestone unless you create one, and that's also the skill that you need to practice, how to create milestone for yourself, even for those boring, mundane activities. But this tool is about then connecting to a bigger picture. Yes, you're working on your lead generation right now, and it doesn't feel like a lot, but without this step, your sales will not go up, your vision will not have the financial fuel to grow, and you will cancel your big dream. And that's exactly how you use this, what Emily Balsett is called wide brackets, or you don't focus on just this action. You connect it to a bigger vision, a bigger picture, and realize what important role it plays in the bigger vision, in the bigger goal. And being able to do that infuses what you do in the moment, however mundane and boring, with that inspired energy. And you get a boost of dopamine because you connect it to something meaningful in your life. You get a boost of energy and you get a boost of focus. As we know, dopamine is very important for focus. And you get this, again, additional focus, energy, motivation for doing the boring thing. And if you ask any entrepreneur how they were able to get through a lot of motions and a lot of boring stuff, that's exactly how they focus on a bigger vision, on a bigger picture, and realize that this boring thing is actually very important for the bigger picture. So tool number one, you narrow your focus. Tool number two, you open it up. And the next one is when you don't see progress, and you might be going through a lot of failed attempts, and you might start doubting yourself, or you might feel like you're just losing motivation and start questioning, is it really worth it? Do I really want it? Now, of course, there is always a place for reconsidering what you're pursuing. But what we know from long-term entrepreneurships, that those moments are necessary in order for your vision, for your goal to manifest and to flourish and to sum up to something great. You'll need to survive those moments, a lot of them. And there is no clear answer or no clear structure or framework that you can use it for sure say, well, this is the time to quit or this is the time to continue. You just never know. But it seems that entrepreneurs who stuck with their ideas they truly believed in long term, they got what they wanted and a lot more. So always learn how to tune in into your inner feeling. Always take time to always just take time to make big decisions if you want to quit or pivot. But then also learn this skill, looking at the gain, not the gap. And that is from Dan Sullivan, the founder of one of the most successful coaching companies for entrepreneurs, Strategic Coach. He wrote a book, Gain in the Gap, The Gain in the Gap. And the book premise, or the book's main idea, is look at your progress, at how far you've come when you start losing motivation. So don't look at how far you need to go or how much it didn't work there is to left, or looking for some confirmations to that it's worth a pursuit. Look at how far you've come, how much you've accomplished, how much you've learned, and how much better you probably have gotten if you put in honest work into this vision, into this idea. Look at the gain, not at the gap. And Dan Sullivan said that successful entrepreneurs all learn for their mental health, their motivation, their emotional health, their focus, to look at the gain and their progress and how far they've come, not at the gap between now and their ideal vision. And that's exactly what you want to do if you want to also boost your focus, boost your motivation. Because guess what, guys? When you look at the gain, you look at the progress, you look at the milestones, and in your mind, you start almost celebrating those milestones and accomplishments. You start dripping that dopamine, that reward, motivation, and focus molecule. And all of a sudden, you feel more motivated and more focused on what you need to do, no matter how hard, how long the mission is. And this is tool number 3 for using your focus. Instead of focusing on the gap between you and your ideal vision, focus on the gain, on things that you've already done, the learnings, the progress, the positive reviews, people's gratitude for what you did, or acknowledgement of what you did. Look there, think about that, and it will help you to boost that dopamine, boost that motivation, and boost that focus. Gain, not gap. And the last, but definitely not least, and that almost full circle goes to that question. When I choose to do X, what future am I canceling, or what future am I choosing? And is it the kind of future I want to keep building? Besides that question, if you want to avoid distractions, you want to pre-frame your own focus. You want to manufacture an environment that will remind you of your goals, of things that are important in your life. And what I mean by that is choose one of the most effective, important, strong ways to manufacture an environment that's going to keep you focused on the right things is shaping your social circle. Make sure that you surround yourself with people who keep you focused on the things you want to keep in your life, from your business to your health habits to any hobbies and ways of thinking. If you're surrounded by people who will always end up distracting you, not because they want to distract you, but because that's just who they are. If you surround yourself with people who distract you from your best visions for yourself, you're going to end up distracted and following more their journey, not the journey that you see for yourself. So designing your environment for focusing on the right thing is a lot about social circle. And that again goes from work to health habits, to your hobbies, to your thinking and decision-making models, all of that. Be very careful about who you choose to hang out long-term. But besides that, shaping and framing and designing your environment for the right kind of focus means putting only healthy foods in your fridge, putting pictures or posters of people who inspire you or their quotes, connecting with people who inspire you on social media instead of following some weird people who always makes you feel worse, like Kardashians. I don't even remember if I watched any video of Kardashians, because they're just not the people I want to be like. I have very little in common with them, so it doesn't really matter what they say. It's not for the benefit of my long-term focus and development. Sip of water. To focus on them. Instead, I focus on people who talk about building themselves and building their businesses and building their dreams and building their ideas. But then also, again, the place where you live. Is it inspiring? Does it make you focus on your health and well-being and on audacious goals? And really think about that. Look at your environment. Does it make it easy to be the person you want to be? Or does it make it extra hard and extra difficult? And whenever you have a choice, and we have a lot of choice of freedom, then try to manufacture the environment that's going to focus on professionally, health-wise, hobbies, mindset, and thinking-wise. It's going to focus you on your best intentions, on your best visions for your future. And that's also a focus tool, because that will shape your focus without you having to think about that. And ultimately, when I look at all the pictures and books and social media, my friends, my family, I have my goals and priorities written down. I have a lot of people on social media who talk about building great things, all of these things. And then environment, I live in Cape Town, and the reason why I love it is because every time I go to the promenade by the sea, people run and cycle, and there is so much movement that reminds you to also move. All this environment, it helps me to be who I want to be, who I enjoy being, without me having to think about that or spend an inch of willpower. And that's when I say that your environment, how you design it, and of course your social circle is going to shape your focus, and eventually going to shape the results that you get in life. So let's recap. Motivation gets you started. Focus keeps you going. As an entrepreneur, focus on building audacious things. Focus and motivation, that's your unstoppable toolkit. And both of them depend on higher levels of dopamine. And you optimize your dopamine through mindset. And we talked a lot about that focus and mindset. And you also optimize it through lifestyle. That's the episode we did on Monday. To shape your focused mindset, focus on the right thing. Ask yourself more often the destroying question. I just came up with that. When I choose to do X, what future am I canceling? Or when I choose to do X, what future am I contributing to? You can also ask, when I choose to do X, what future am I actually building? And do I actually want to live in that future? And first and foremost, for your focus, you have to have your goals and priorities written down and come to them every morning. That's what also a lot of successful entrepreneurs do in one form or the other every morning, sometimes twice a day, sometimes more times a day, to just refocus and make sure that you're choosing the right things. Focus only on the next step when you feel overwhelmed with the big vision, when it feels heavy, overwhelming, unclear. Focus only on the next step. Focus on the bigger picture. Widen up your focus when you feel like you're going through the motions and think meaningless and mundane, and that's not the dream you signed up for. So open up the focus and realize that this is also contributing to your bigger vision and your bigger why. Losing your motivation, feeling like it's all a waste and you're not making any progress, focus on the gain, not the gap, the progress that you've made, not the gap that you still have to close between you and your ideal vision. And don't forget that your environment, you can shape your environment and your environment will shape your focus, including. So make sure that the people you surround yourself, where you live, who you listen to, what you see, all contributes to the right kind of focus that helps you to build the exact life and the exact self that you imagine in your future. And that's about it, folks. I hope you found this to be very insightful, useful. It's a compilation of a lot of different research and books and different performers' secrets, from Olympic athletes to neuroscientists to Navy SEALs. So please re-listen to this episode. Please make sure to put this into practice, because only when you consciously spend time on thinking, okay, where can I apply this? Where can I apply that? Where can I apply that? And when you start applying that, only then you start getting results. And I can tell you, I'm also guilty of not always following the advice that I believe is going to change my life. But the older I get, the more and more I realize it's better to know less, but put more into practice, than to know more and put nothing into practice. So only actions will change your life. So learn, put at least one thing into practice, the one that you believe going to bring you a lot of benefit, and the one that might solve a real problem in your life or issue. So choose it, put it into action, and track results. That's also going to boost your dopamine and help you keep going. That's about it, folks. I'm looking forward to seeing you again on this podcast. Please download a lot of our episodes. Stay tuned. What else? Have an awesome week, rest of the week. Focus on the right things. Make sure that you use your focus as a tool. It's a very powerful tool, and there is no limit to what you can achieve. Stay tuned. Share this podcast. That's the biggest thing you can do for this podcast. Share. Choose your focus the right way, and have an awesome rest of the week. I'll talk to you very soon.